Catch a nigga slipping at the light,
Nice.
make his heart drop, cut the green beam
Oh,
on.
and the upper
Make his
fall.
car
How does
stop.
every hit?
2 threes hit his engine block and cut the car off. Dump on the nigga head,
Holy,
on
that was a
yellow
slick
Xannies,
play.
score that bar
Bro,
hop. My
where-
brain like a new car that's in drive with no park options. Make a pussy nigga car reverse when the AR popping. My fiend say he want a black dog, so I'm tar shopping. Finna pour 6 and thick red, you still par dropping.
This fucking boss, that shit did not even hit me.
Shit over. My Glock like a badass little kid, I put a switch on. I broke my cousin Tim's scale.
It all started one day, a day when I was wandering Ash Lake, and I thought of the super creative and original idea to beat Dark Souls Remastered with shields only. Not like this has been done any time before. And my goal is obviously to beat the game, but on top of that, I will be going through the DLC, and I will make sure to kill every single DLC boss. Now that is about it for my little intro, and now to the actual video. And I haven't really watched any videos, so as far as strategies and rules go, I don't know what other people did, but I'll be telling you my rules as I skim through the tutorial. The first rule is obviously shields only. And what I mean by shields only is not specifically only shields, because if you were to say only shields, you could mean no bonfires, no Estus, no armor, but I'm just going to say the only way to do damage is through shields, and only shields can boost my damage. And what I mean by that is I'll be using no pyromancy flames, I can't equip any other weapon besides the shield, and I also will not be using red tearstone ring, anything to buff my damage that isn't a shield. And obviously I will not be doing any crazy glitches or cheats. I will be doing that humanity thing to make it so I have a higher item discovery rate, that way I can get drops faster, and I'll be doing quit outs, but those are super easy tricks and are basically a built-in system of the game. Also, if you guys like this type of content, please make sure to like, comment, and subscribe. And in the comments, just let me know your thoughts on this video. Just let me know your opinions and anything that this video sparked. And as far as strategy, I just chose a random class that I've never used before because I'm going to end up with a shield nonetheless. And as you can see, obviously the shield damage isn't too bad. I mean, it's actually relatively viable. The fights will take a bit longer, but it's not like you're only using your fists, so there is some things we can accomplish with this. My one concern though is the range. At this point, I was pretty skeptical if I was going to be able to hit a lot of the enemies. And as you were seeing in this boss fight, the main source of challenge is the absolute amount of sheer patience that you need, because this fight, which has like the least amount of health out of all the bosses and the easiest moveset and the most opportunities to hit them, this fight ended up taking over 3.5 minutes. Which kind of scares me for what we're going to have to do in the future. But nonetheless, we are able to beat him on our first try and start heading to Firelink. And after this super close call right here, I decided to make my way to the Undead Parish, but from underground, because I chose the Master Key, which can make me skip the Undead Burge and just go through the Darkroot Garden and all the way to Andre. And I think I've gone past this dragon in about 20 different playthroughs, and I always forget which item activates him. And then after a poorly timed dodge here, because I can never figure out these guys' strategy, I get my first death, which you can see on the top right, which will be a little counter to track, how hard this challenge is. And once I make it up this elevator, I encounter a Black Knight, and at first I was going to ignore this guy because what use is a Black Knight if you can't use his weapon? But then I realized there was a 20% chance that he drops his shield. So I figured I might as well go for it, and after about 5 minutes of consistently parrying this guy, he dies by falling off the cliff, and somehow I get that shield. And this was really a blessing in disguise, and you will see why later. I also grabbed the Grass Crest shield, which is an absolute mandatory... Fuck, I just said that horribly wrong. A mandatory item for this run because it makes you regain stamina faster, which is just fucking OP. So I'm never going to use this to do damage, but I'm always going to have this on my back. I then make it to the parish where I start farming these guys. That way I can upgrade my shield, and these guys were quite hard for me to farm, especially because there was 2 attacking me at once, and since I can't output that much damage, you can get overwhelmed super easily. Then I moved to this Steel Knight over here, which is honestly a really fun fight. I really like this enemy. I think he is super underrated, but nonetheless, back to my main point. Shields are not bad for one-on-one combat. Like, it is gonna take a while, but honestly, it is a lot safer than regular weapons because half the time you're attacking, you're also blocking, so it's really hard to get hit. And after a hot minute of farming, I upgrade my endurance a couple levels and I upgrade my Black Knight shield to +2, and I was able to do so because of that Titanite lizard I killed earlier. And the damage really is not looking that bad. And with my +2 shield, I got an ego, and I finally decided it was time to try the Bell Gargoyles. And I just did not stand a fair chance against these runbacks. Like, how does this guy parry a shield? So I just decided going for the strategy of running past a couple enemies, quitting out, running past the next enemies, and quitting out again, till I was at the Bell Gargoyles. And before I started this run, I was scared for 2 bosses. Firstly, the Bell Gargoyles and Ornstein and Smo. And what do those 2 bosses have in common? They are gank bosses, which I thought was going to be super hard for this, because I thought I was going to get overwhelmed because I couldn't output enough damage. And my first try lasted a whopping 2.5 minutes before they finally killed me. I then decided to have my power-up arc, which consisted of me upgrading my Estus Flask, and getting another Anor Londo to upgrade to, or New Londo Ruins. And then I decided to start making my way through Undead Burge, and I somehow got myself in this predicament, and as soon as I escape, I then skip the entirety of Undead Burge, and guess what my goal here is? To get and kill Havel, that way I can light roll with heavier armor. And as you can see, I was not doing a whole lot of damage, and he was doing quite the opposite amount of damage. And with my little level up arc, I decided it's time to get my revenge back on these gargoyles. And my first try did not end up going so well, and that's because I totally forgot about the fact that I have the Black Knight shield, which is kind of a cheat code for this fight, especially if I'm doing shield only, because not only does it obviously block all physical damage and output pretty decent regular damage, it's also basically immune to fire. It's a 95% block rate on fire, or whatever you want to call it, so when they spam their fire, I can low-key just tank it with the shield. And man, did this fight take a while. The first phase only took like a solid 45 seconds to a minute, but that second phase took over 5 minutes, which made my last and winning attempt take over 6 minutes total, which is absolutely crazy for a boss fight. But after being super patient and only attacking when there's a super clear safe opening, I am finally able to finish these guys off on my third try, which was a lot better than I thought I would do, and just like that, we have the first bell rung. I then level up my health and my strength, and a little bit of endurance, and then I go ahead and kill this gold guy for 2 reasons. Firstly, because he will kidnap your Firekeeper, and you will not be able to rest that Fire Link, and because he drops by far the best ring in the game, which gives you 20% more health, 20% more stamina, and 20% more equip load at the minimum. I then decided to kill this Titanite demon because why not, and holy did I regret it, because this fight ended up lasting exactly 5 minutes and 17 seconds just for a measly demon Titanite. I then went to go fight Havel again because I really wanted that ring, and that also took a staggering 5 minutes on the dot. I then tried to go to Blighttown through a secret little shortcut, but this dragon was absolutely not having it, so I had to go the regular route through Firelink. I then ran past every single thing till Quelaag, and she is a sight for sore eyes. And I often see people talk about how hard Quelaag is, but in my opinion, she is honestly one of the easiest bosses if you just kind of know what you're doing. You just have to rotate around her and not stand in front of the giant fucking spider mouth that spews lava. Something I will say though is that she is abnormally tanky. There's no reason for her to have this much health, especially how early in the game you find her. She does have one threatening attack, which is her AoE attack, and the only reason that is threatening is because I often get stuck in her legs for some reason. Since this is a Dark Souls boss, it is going to be pretty clunky, and sometimes you'll get stuck underneath her, and then the AoE will one-shot me. But soon enough, I realized that I can just hold out my shield because all she does is fire damage, and my shield is 95% fire resistant. So once I figured that out, the fight went super smoothly. Smoothly. But that is not to say that this fight took so fucking long. I mean, just let me know in the comments how long you think this fight took, or just think it in your head. I mean, I'll give you 3 seconds to guess. 3, 2, 1. It was 17 and a half fucking minutes of constant fighting. I was about to fall asleep. My hands were numb. My controller was falling out of my hand from the amount of sweat I had because I did not want to redo this boss fight. And it really did come down to the wire. I ran out of all my SSs, so I had to rely on humanity. And just in case you don't believe me, in the top left corner, there's a small little box of the fight in 100 times speed, showing you how long this fight took. But honestly, I was super surprised that I was able to kill this guy on my first try, or this girl. And with her dead, I can finally ring the second bell, but we are not quite going to Sense Fortress just yet. I then dump all my stats into strength because I have a naughty little idea coming up for a weapon to use later, and then I run all the way back to the blacksmith to get my Grass Crest shield to +5, and now that is my highest damaging weapon, so I don't need the Black Knight weapon anymore, or the Black Knight sword, or shield, fuck. I then decided I'm gonna need some range, and there's actually one shield that you can throw from relatively far distances, and that is the shield that you get by using a soul dropped from the Moonlight Butterfly. And this was low-key a mistake. This was another one of those super boring long fights. This one was even more boring than Quelaag, but thankfully it wasn't quite as long. And by not quite as long, I mean like 2 minutes shorter, because this fight took exactly 15 minutes and 4 seconds of nothing but trying to dodge this guy's spells. It was so boring. But thankfully this is like the last boring fight that I have to do. And this is one of the bosses in Dark Souls that I think could have had so much potential. Like, I just wish they did a little something with his moveset, just made it a little bit more fast-paced, because I love the way this guy looks, I love the arena, I love the vibe, I love the music. It's just the gameplay is super boring. So yeah, that's all my thoughts really. I'm just trying to say something to show you a little bit of gameplay of this boss fight, but there's not much stuff to say on this boss fight, so I first try him, grab his soul, and grab an ember, and dip out of there. And in between the skip of me in Darkroot Garden and me in Sen's Fortress, I played for about a solid hour and I forgot to stream it. And in order to get my gameplay, I stream it first, then download it. So I did not have any gameplay for like the past hour, but I'll tell you exactly what I did. Firstly, I killed the Capra Demon and I actually managed to get it first try. I just ran up the stairs, killed both the dogs, and the Capra Demon was pretty light. Then I made a quick trip to the depths only to grab the large ember. Then I boned out. I gave the ember to Andre and I got my boulder shield to +10. Then I just ran through the entirety of Sen's Fortress. Took me about a solid like 10 minutes. I first tried that. And then I'm pretty sure I also got the covetous gold serpent ring. And then I gave this guy Iron Golem a hot shot. And I just really wasn't doing a lot of damage, and his grab attacks were fucking me up. I feel like the range on that bitch is crazy, and the hitboxes are super bad, but he kept throwing me off the cliff, and I kept having to do quit outs. But thankfully, I did not die to this guy at all. I was able to quit out every time before falling off. But during one of the quit outs, I guess I quit out as I died, so I was able to spawn in this area, which you're not usually supposed to get to, which was pretty cool. There wasn't much to do here besides just run around in circles, and this was definitely a first for me. I don't think I've glitched out in Sen's Fortress at all, but besides just being pretty cool, there was nothing to do, so I just jumped into a wall, and I fell off, and I fell for a solid minute, and I don't know, this was a pretty interesting experience to say the least. And I don't know what was happening here, but I low-key looked pretty tough. It kind of looked like I was in front of the moon. And I was actually mistaken before. This is where I went to go get the covetous gold serpent ring for a little naughty farming technique that I'm going to go do in the catacombs. I then run past the graveyard, which is an area that I was so scared of when I was a little kid. I know it sounds like I'm still 5 years old, but this area used to cause me genuine fright. And I really never ran to the catacombs because of this area, but I'm getting sidetracked. I then eventually make my way to the catacombs, and after running past every single enemy, and I don't even bother trying to fight these guys whatsoever, or just collect any items in the area, I sprint past everything. I then get lost for a couple of minutes because the catacomb is a pretty confusing area for me. But eventually I find my way to the smithing guy. I have no clue what this guy's name is. And I use him to get my boulder shield to +5 in the fire aspect, or whatever you're supposed to call it in this game, because not only will it do more damage due to the fact that shields don't really scale well in general, so having fire will do more damage, but also I'm pretty sure the skeletons are weak to it. So it'll be the great, or just the best option that I have to farming these skeletons. And I had to kill 79 of these bad boys, which doesn't sound too hard, but these are not just trash mobs. Firstly, they have a relatively decent amount of health, but they're always in groups. They do a shit ton of fucking damage. Like, once they hit you once, you're dead, because they'll just stun you until you die, and you have a fucking shield. So just that alone is hard. And considering I should have a 8.2% chance of getting this shield dropped, because I have my ring, which boosts it to 4%, and I have the humanities, which boost it to 4.1 times the regular amount of luck. And since it took me so long to get it, I really doubted if the item discovery thing was really legit, so I did some calculations. Yes, I know I sound like a total goob saying that, and also these calculations may not be correct, but this is just what I found and what I thought was true. And if it's an 8.2% chance over 100 that I get it, it's a 91.8% chance that I don't get it. And in order to find the odds that it took me 79 enemies to get this weapon, we'd have to do the calculation 0.918, which is, the odds of not getting it, to the power of the amount of enemies that I had to kill, which was 79. And that would equal to about 1 in 540 odds that it took this long, which either means I'm super fucking unlucky, or the stat system is not working how they tell you. But nonetheless, after about 40-ish minutes of grinding, I finally get the weapon, and let me tell you, this weapon is a fucking game changer. As soon as I get it to a regular +5, and then I put it down the fire path of infusion and get it to +5 with fire, which is not the max it can go. It can go to +10, but I'm not able to do that yet, so +5 will have to do. I then sprinted all the way from the bottom of the catacombs all the way up to the Iron Golem, and although I do think it is a pretty good choice that time travel or fucking bonfire travel doesn't come till the later half, but runbacks like those really make me question that choice. And once we got to the Iron Golem, I kind of, got confused with my fire bone wheel. But once we get to him, we test out this weapon, and the damage is obviously pretty good, as you can see, a lot better than my other weapons. But as you see right here, the amount of poise damage it inflicts is pretty crazy. And my weapon doesn't even need to do a lot of damage for this fight. As you see, I just poise stagger him, or just whatever you want to call it, till he falls off the cliff. And just like that, it is time for the big leagues. It is time for Anne Orlando, which is probably going to be the area that I struggle with the most. besides maybe the DLC, as if you don't know, I'm going to kill every single boss in the DLC and just every boss in general that gives you quite a challenge. And this weapon just absolutely destroys. It does crazy damage and it staggers. After I kill this gargoyle, I go and pick up a Demon Titanite because I am planning on using a weapon that requires Demon Titanite upgrades. And now it's time for the parkour part, the balancing part, whatever part you want to call it. And I'm realizing I do say that phrase a lot. For some reason, every video I just find a phrase and I keep using it. And at first, for this little area, you think the best strat would be to kill these guys. That way they don't throw knives at you and hit you off. But honestly, just put on some tanky armor. That way one hit doesn't automatically send you flying. And just run past them. Because it's way more risky trying to fight them while you're on this thin thing. And at the end, I try to get a little fancy and perform this jump, and it didn't turn out so well. But once we make it past this section on our second try, it is time for our next obstacle, which is going to be the archers. With decent timing, you can always consistently make it to the top, but that's where I struggle a little bit, because this guy never puts away the bow. So he's kind of just spamming bow arrows at you, and even if you block it, it will send you flying off, which is what happened to me here. Luckily, I had a quick cutout, or quit out, but I kept spawning in the air, so couldn't really do much about that. And we are also able to make this one on our second try. And although the damage is pretty good against these knights, I'm low-key just gonna skip them because I need to stagger them for every hit. And since I'm not able to do that, I'll always be getting hit out of my animations. And then it's time to perform the skip I've done day one by just jumping over these stairs. One of the most simple, efficient, and easy tricks in the book. I also was able to get the crystal ring shield from the giant blacksmith, and now it's finally time for Ornstein and Smough, the boss I've been by far the most scared of for this run. And on my first try, the first phase went pretty well. I got good RNG and I was able to bait Dragon Slayer Ornstein pretty well. Second phase is where things took a little bit of a turn. And it's those damn jump attacks. Like, if you get hit and you're on the floor, you cannot get up in time and roll out of that, like, in time. It's just not possible. And I was able to get these guys on my second try, thankfully, and I'm pretty sure, like, from this point onward, this was the boss that took the longest amount of time, and it only took 4 minutes, which I guess shows how the run definitely got easier over time, which was surprising. I thought this would have been the runs where it was going to be okay at the beginning and super hard towards the end, but somehow it was the opposite. Baiting did take a long time because I was trying to make Smough stay between the pillar and have Ornstein on the other side of the pillar, which definitely took a lot of patience and was very luck dependent, but after like a couple minutes that I was able to get that. And on for Smough, you just have to be careful but also aggressive. Like, I kind of just attacked anytime I saw an opening, but I just made sure not to go all in. And just like that, on our second try, the boss I was the most scared of and thought I would struggle with the most is down, and now we can teleport and have the ability to beat the game. I then use my crystal ring shield to kill her because why not? That's the only use this weapon has. It does so little damage, I regret getting it. And I regret that 15-minute Moonlight Butterfly fight. I decided to do the 4 Lord bosses, then the DLC, and then the main boss, and I kind of went in order on how easy I thought it would be. And since I thought Duke's Archives was going to be the easiest, that was first up on my list. And these boars were really cock-blocking. They would not let me use that bonfire. And Duke's Archives is split into 3 sections. That first section where you just run to the boss and let it kill you. Also, did you guys know you could just leave the fog wall? So if you don't want to lose your shit and you know it's a gimmick fight, you can just leave and come back later. The second section where you're in that jail cell, you have to turn on that melody. So those, I don't even know what to call them, stop attacking you. And then the third section, which is kind of the main one with tons of, cool little mechanics and levers to traverse the area. And on top of that, the giant crystal cave. And low-key, we don't really have much to do here besides run past the entire area, so that is exactly what I do. And since the clams always follow you into the boss arena during your first attempt, I break the thing and quit out. That way the thing remains broken so I don't have to run back there, and that way there's no clams in there. And this was probably one of my quicker fights. I mean, I do crazy damage. I'm pretty sure he's weak to fire, or it just looks like he'd be weak to fire. But he is a super, I don't know what the opposite word of mobile is, but he's the opposite of that. He kind of just stands there and lets you take it. Occasionally he'll do some crystal attacks, which will do decent damage. But like, you can low-key just out DPS him, which you usually can't do for a boss. But this one, I mean, he's just super fucking easy. I'm just trying to ramble on about things to say for this guy, but there's not a lot of things to say for him, so I just chill on him my first try. And with that, the first Lord Soul, or whatever you want to call it, is down. And now it is time for Lost Izalith. It's going to have 4 bosses, and all of them are either very cheesable or just super fucking easy. And I totally forgot to get that Quelaag's bonfire, so I have to run there all the way from Firelink. And we run into our first boss as soon as we get to Lost Izalith, and that is the Ceaseless Discharge. That has one hell of a name, and it looks quite interesting, but really all you gotta do is grab this guy's armor. I think it's his dead sister's armor, so it's pretty reasonable why he crashes out on you, and then just wait for him to do that one attack, sprint to the edge of the arena or the beginning, and he'll just jump off. And just like that, we're one boss down. I also died trying to get the Chaos Ember, which I thought was a good investment, but later I realized you can't even use Chaos on shields. And after dealing with this character, it's time for our second boss, Demon Fire Sage, and he kind of looks familiar. He kind of looks like the Asylum Demon, or maybe even the Stray Demon, but like they just added some fire effects on him. But nonetheless, this boss fight, he's pretty easy. I was getting hit a lot, and since he is made of a fucking fire, I think he was a little bit resistant to my attacks, but within a couple minutes I was able to wipe this guy out, and there's not really much interesting to say about it, so yeah. And now we're going straight into another boss, which is the Centipede Demon, and this just really feels like a boss rush game mode. I originally thought this boss was going to be pretty hard because, you know, most of the arena is lava, and I kind of have vivid memories of him just like shooting his long arm or whatever and staying in the lava. But I got super lucky, or I just had the wrong memory of this boss fight, because he went straight to land and just kept spamming jump attacks. So he would jump, I'd move out of the way, I'd hit his ankles, and he'd just keep repeating that process for a solid minute till I killed him. And after killing this bugger, there was only one boss left. My favorite boss in the game, the Bed of Chaos. And I didn't even try to fight him like regularly through the regular route. I just went to the Chaos, which I duped a little humanity, and then I got to the max rank in that Covenant. That way I could have a shortcut, so if I died, I wouldn't have a 5-minute run back, which honestly I think is reasonable. And the Bed of Chaos was one of those bosses I used to struggle with a lot, but if you just stay calm and have a little, like any sort of slight strategy, it's a pretty easy boss. You know, you choose left or right, it doesn't really matter, but I think the strat here is you don't really need a weapon, so that kind of works out for me anyways. And you just kind of want a lot of armor, because he's going to do decent damage. I don't know if poise plays a big factor, but I'll just rock a lot of poise anyway. And just, you gotta be careful. I just like hover with my shield. I wait for the cracks to follow, because if you're just sprinting, the cracks are gonna break under you and you're gonna fall off. So you just gotta slow walk, and this guy's pretty passive. And I do use quit outs a lot if I feel like I'm in a bad spot, because remember, when you break something, it does save. So you have to break 3 things. If you break 2 and you die, only 1 is going to be there left to break. So if you get in a bad spot after breaking 1, just quit out and come back down. And I would definitely say the third one is obviously the hardest, because there's a giant crack in the floor and you have to fall on a branch. And on top of that, he will firestorm you, so it can get a little tricky. And just like that, Bed of Chaos is down and only 2 other lords remain. And the next lord we decide to go for is Nito. And luckily for me, I have a bonfire right next to Pinwheel, so all I have to do is kill Pinwheel, then kill Nito. And I really do like Pinwheel. I think he's a very unique boss, a very fun boss, but he's just way too easy. I mean, I'm using a shield only, and I kill this guy in about 10 damn seconds. And in the Tomb of the Giants, it's a pain in the ass if you don't have a light source. I didn't have a light source, so it was pretty annoying in the beginning, so I kind of just like crouched and slow walked till I got to the point where Patches was. And since I've played this game a lot, I knew there was a light source down there, so I let him kick me. I get the light source. I also did get the Mask of the Father from Pinwheel, which I was really happy, because I'm trying to light roll with some good armor, and you know, that is very helpful for the cause. I then ran into these 2 fellows down below, and I can really see why Patches does not like clerics. They just spam heal, and it is super annoying to deal with. I then realized there's only giant skeleton dogs and regular giant skeletons between me and Nito. And let me tell you right now, there's no chance I'm fighting a giant skeleton dog. They do absurd amount of damage. They're hard to see, and they're so hard to predict. So, you know, I kind of just ran past the entire area till I met my boy Paladin Leroy. And he does drop the Sanctum Shield, which isn't crazy, but I'm pretty sure it's the only shield in the game that allows for passive health regen, which I thought, you know, would be pretty good, because, you know, it's a shield, which is the only thing I can use, and it allows me to regain health, but I'm pretty sure it's only 2 a second, and I'm pretty sure my Grass Crest shield makes my stamina recover like 30 to 40% faster, so it really was not worth the trade-off. And Nito was another one of those bosses that were a lot easier than I thought they'd be. He has this one attack where he shoves his sword into the ground, and I cannot react fast enough. This attack always gets me. But I was really scared of the skeletons, but low-key, once Nito comes to you, he kills the skeletons for you. So all you gotta really worry about is attacking him and healing, because like you can get a couple attacks on him, he's gonna do an AoE, I just block the AoE and use that chance to heal and keep attacking him until he does the AoE over and over again. I mean, and just like that, Nito's dead. And we only have 1 lord left, which is probably going to be the hardest one. And unfortunately for us, this boss is located in the Abyss, so in order to fight him, I need a ring, which I have to get from killing another boss. And that boss is Sif. I mean, Sif is a pretty cool fight, especially for one of those bigger mobs in animal-likes, because usually bigger bosses and animal-like bosses are pretty bad. But I think he has enough variety in his moveset. He does a decent amount of damage, has a decent amount of health. He just provides for a pretty fun and relatively hard fight, especially for a new player. But once you get all his attacks down, you can kind of just strafe him and walk underneath his legs, and he'll never be able to hit you. The one down part, the one thing I don't really like, is that he's always backstepping. Like, this guy's always jumping backwards every half a second, so it makes it turn into a slight marathon of a fight. But soon enough, this guy's dead on our first try. I'm really first trying these guys with a shield. I mean, I might be the go to this game, I don't know. And now it is time for New Lana Ruins, and this is an area that always scared me as a kid. I'm pretty sure it was because of the ghosts and how you actually can't kill them unless you use an item, which I'm low-key not going to farm for, and I'm not going to buy it, so I'm just going to run past every single enemy. Yes, I know, anything but play the actual game, but once I get up this ladder, I talk to this young fellow over here, and I get a key which allows me to drain the water, and once the water is drained, it is time for the 4 kings. And I was really sad I had to take off my Havel's ring to be in this fight, but honestly, you don't need to light roll for the 4 kings, because I found it's low-key just better if you tank their attacks, because you need to output damage fast, and if you just stand still and hit them while they hit you, you're gonna deal damage faster than rolling and attacking. So you just need to be able to do more damage than damage they do to you. And unfortunately for me, that was not the case. I mean, I will say I was getting super bad RNG because those grab attacks are pretty hard for me to avoid, and they take like 10 seconds, so by that point another king's gonna spawn in, and once another king spawns in, there's really not much you can do because there's 2 guys attacking you at once. But even if I was having good RNG, yeah, I was still gonna get raped because I just wasn't doing enough damage. So it was time for a little level up arc, and then I could get my revenge on these guys. And this is the point where I realized I couldn't put chaos on my shield, so I went back to Lost Izalith to get the Fire Ember. My next problem was finding red Titanite chunks to get my weapon to plus 10. And honestly, this process went a lot smoother than I thought it would be. Firstly, there was like 2 chunks or 3 of them you could find on the floor, and then you had to farm these giant cactus guys. I don't know why I said cactuses, they're just not cactuses, I meant octopus guys. And after like a solid 30-ish or 20-ish minutes, I got all the Titanite chunks I needed, and I also found a Titanite slab. So with that, I was able to get my weapon to plus 10 on 5. And after Dark Wraith showed me that I wasn't really welcomed here, it was time to get my revenge on the 4 kings. And I just absolutely shat on these guys. I was doing so much more damage, I was having so much more luck, and like once you get going, like once you're able to get a good start, you can't really go wrong. Like once you start shitting on them, like I had so much extra time that I would just like wait there for 30 seconds on end waiting for the next one to spawn in. And with all that bragging out of the way, the 4 kings go down on my second try. And at this point, we could technically beat Gwen and, end this challenge for good. But I did promise I would do the DLC, and that took up a majority of my playtime. But firstly, I decided I might as well kill the Stray Demon. I don't know why, but, I figured might as well. And there wasn't really much to say about this boss. He's literally just the Asylum Demon, so any thoughts you have on that boss, you're basically gonna have here. He's just tankier, he does a lot more damage, but I got him on my first try. And this shield even fucks up Black Knights. Like, this isn't even a challenge run. This might be better than like the average good weapon in this game. And now it is time for the DLC, and getting into the DLC is a 3-step process, which firstly consists of killing this giant Hydra, which honestly, as I've said several times, is a lot easier than I would expect. It was kind of annoying, like hitting his heads, but once I found his heads, I did extraordinary amounts of damage. So I killed this guy in like a solid minute, and then we had to run to the back of this lake and quit out, and then a golden guy would appear, and we'd have to kill him, and then we go to the Duke's Archives and kill a crystal blue guy, which I don't know why, and I don't know how this was figured out to be the way to get into the DLC, but whatever. Once we do all that, this giant black hole appears, and we were able to get into the DLC. And in this DLC, there's going to be 4 bosses, one of them being slightly harder than average, and then the other 3 definitely being in the top 5 hardest in the game. As we enter the DLC, we go straight into our first boss fight, which is the Sanctuary Guardian. This fight isn't too hard, but I think he is a direct counter to my build, because he is very versatile. He doesn't have too much health, he doesn't do too much damage, but he is always moving. And this fight took me a solid 5.5 minutes just because I couldn't land any shots. The moon or the crystal ring, it did no damage, it was too slow to hit him, and then my bone reel was super inconsistent with even being able to reach him and just taking too long. But after a while and having a shit ton of heals and just out damaging him and being able to take most of his shit, we are able to kill this guy. Also, I do think this guy is a little underrated. I think this guy looks super cool, and his moveset can change depending on if you get hit or not, which he's one of the only, or if one of the few bosses in Dark Souls Remastered that do that, so I think this guy is pretty cool. And after killing him, we make it to the Royal Woods, fuck, I keep mispronouncing things on camera, man, I'm getting shy, I'm getting nervous. But yeah, this area isn't too hard to run past, but, I figured I might as well show a naughty little glitch I learned, to impress you guys, and I don't really feel like running through the area. And this glitch happens by going to the elevator you would use to use the shortcut to Artorias, but you have to put your equip load somewhere between, I'm pretty sure, like 26 and 28%, just so you can barely medium roll. And once you do that, just spam roll while falling off and just keep spamming roll, and you'll land at the bottom of the elevator with no damage taken. And now it's time for Artorias, and I low-key had an ego. I thought I was going to first try this guy, but he did humble me pretty quick. but I really feel like that was because I did not know the strategy. I was playing way too passive, and I was kind of waiting for openings, and I just didn't really know his attack pattern. So after dying one more time with a little bit of a better game, you know what I'm saying, like I did a little bit better that round, the next time I just locked in, I realized you gotta be super aggressive, especially for his buff up shit. Like, you just gotta full rush him, and I realized if I just land 2 full RTs with my bone wheel, it'll knock him out of that. So I'll get some good damage and he won't buff up, which is an absolute game changer. So my third try, after being just super aggressive, taking through most of his shit, because he doesn't really deal that much damage, I'm able to get this guy on my third try. One of the hardest bosses in the game, and probably one of the most overlays difficult bosses in the Soul series, down on my third try with shields only. And just like that, we're about halfway through the DLC in like a solid 20 minutes. But let me tell you, these bosses only get harder. And there's not really much to show you while I traverse this area. Like, I'll show you a couple deaths that I had. I also went to this Mimic and killed him. That way I can get the key to go. That way I can also fight Calamite. But yeah, it's not really interesting. I mean, with a shield only run, you don't need to get a whole lot of items, especially if I can't buff myself up. So I mean, unfortunately, I do run past most of the areas. But soon enough, we make it to the Chasm of the Abyss, which I'm pretty sure that's what it's called. And after running by every enemy here and finding the shortcut, it is finally time for Madness. And let me tell you, this guy, he was a pain in my ass. I think I died to him more than I died to every single boss combined. Like, up to this point, I was like, damn, I'm not going to die to a boss more than 2 or 3 times. But this guy, I mean, I'll put the number on the screen. I don't know what exactly it is off the top of my head, but I was actually getting mad here. And I know you guys are going to say it's a skill issue, and it probably is a skill issue, but I just felt like this guy was hard for all the wrong reasons. I felt like his hitboxes, like the absolute range on his attacks, like I'd see his hand hit the floor, and I'm 5 feet away from it, and then I'd get hit and it'd do half my health. And he had this one attack where it was like that combo thing where like he just wails his arms in the air. It doesn't do too much damage, but like it goes on for like a solid 15 seconds. And I don't feel like there's enough warning. Like, it has such a big AoE on it, and like it doesn't give you enough time to run out of there. So every time we did that attack, I was automatically gonna get hit. On top of that, he's resistant to like all elements by like 50% or some shit like that. So I did very little damage, and I barely hit him. Like, my range wasn't really hitting him a lot of the time. And he was like the only boss I feel like I couldn't learn his moveset. Like, I couldn't dodge his attacks. Like, if I dodge and it worked, I'd do that exact same thing and it wouldn't work. Like, for Bell Gargoyles, Orange and Smoke, I could just develop a strategy, and with good time dodge, I could do it. But like this guy, it just felt like his hitboxes and the timing was just all whack. Like, the only attacks I feel like I could dodge were the dark attacks, which were a lot more deadly and did like 3 times the damage. But like, those you could just dodge them if you were good. Okay, I'm definitely making it seem like he was impossible. I mean, he was pretty hard. He wasn't like that crazy. It made me a little mad. But yeah, soon enough we were able to kill this guy like on around our 15th or 10th try or something like that. And now we have only one boss left in the DLC, which is Calamite. And Calamite was like the boss that I struggled with by far the most on one of my first playthroughs. And in order to fight Calamite, I'm pretty sure you have to talk to this guy, go over here, then go to Calamite yourself, let him kill you, talk to Go, and then say you have to answer yes to whatever his question is, and then he will shoot down Calamite, and then it is a fair fight. Now, Calamite has 3 things that are hard about him. Firstly, he has a large amount of HP. I mean, it's somewhere near Manus's. I don't know if it's a little more, it's a little less, but he's not as resistant to fire, I'm pretty sure. So in terms of HP wise, he'll probably be a little easier. Secondly, his damage. I'm pretty sure he does the most damage, a lot more than Manus, a lot more than Artorias, so I have to be careful for that. And thirdly, he is a dragon boss fight, which means fire is going to be super annoying and the camera is going to be working against me. And you guys saw my first attempt where he absolutely destroyed me, but on my second attempt I was able to kill him because I was just playing patient. Like, a lot of the boss fights, you have to play a lot more aggressive than you think, especially for duo boss fights. But for this one, playing passive is the key. Like, you just gotta wait and make sure he does all his attacks, because if you're patient, like, all his attacks are highly telegraphed. Like, you can see what he does, and if you're just slightly aware, you can know where to run. And I mean, just, it gives you lots of opportunities to hit him. And I also totally forgot to advertise once again, because I got to make sure to advertise it twice, the possibility of you guys liking and perhaps even subscribing and commenting. It does mean a lot. And yeah, for this boss, there's not much else to say. I kind of wanted to say something while I showed gameplay. And yeah, on my second try, I was able to kill this guy. And it did take 5.5 minutes, so it was quite lengthy. And now, all that's left for us to do is beat the game. But before I do that, I head down to Ash Lake through the Great Hollow, because I was in search of a good thumbnail. I don't know if I end up using it yet, because I have not started working on that, John, yet. But yeah, I went there for the thumbnail. Hopefully it turns out good. We then burn the Lord Souls, and it is finally time to beat Gwyn. I mean, and just look at this entrance to the final area. It's such a good entrance, such a pretty area. There's not a whole lot to do here, but I kind of like the lonely vibe and just those couple of Black Knights. It has an impact on me, you know? And now it is time for Gwyn, and this is where my Black Knight shield really shines. Firstly, I get that parry off, so that's a free hit right there. And I can kind of just block all of his attacks, because they deal fire. It's not going to take a whole lot of stamina. It's not going to do any damage. and I can just parry when I feel the time is right and get my, wheel spin. So I'll leave these last few minutes in silence. Okay, I totally forgot I died there onto my winning attempt. And while the first half of this fight plays out, I'll do a little recap on all the bosses and my deaths to them. Firstly, the Asylum Demon we first tried. Secondly, the Gargoyles we third tried. Then up next we had Quelaag, I'm pretty sure, which we also first tried. Then we had the Moonlight Butterfly, which we first tried. Then we had the Camper Demon, which we surprisingly first tried. Then we had the Iron Golem, and we first tried that, John. Then we had Ornstein Smo, and that was a second try. And then I'm pretty sure we went to Lost Izalith. We beat Ceaseless Discharge on our first try. We beat the Demon Fire Sage on our first try. We beat Centipede Demon on our first try, and we also got Bed of Chaos on our first try. We then got Seath the Scaleless on our first try, and Nito on our first try, and Pinwheel on our first try, and Sif on our first try, and the Four Kings, also the Sanctuary Guardian. Then we got Artorias on our third try. We then got Manus on our 10th try, and Calamite on our second. And now I'll let you enjoy the final moments. And just like that, we have beat Dark Souls Remastered and its DLC with shields only. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I will hopefully see you in the next one.